What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for stopping in. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, hit the little bell notification as well. You don't want to miss out. I do 3 videos every single week, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays, and I try not to miss, but today I got a good one for you. I'm comparing the Q50 to the C6 Corvette in terms of how good of a daily driver they are, or which car do I prefer as a daily driver. I've been putting a lot of miles on the C6. I've been driving it every single day for several weeks now to try to get an idea of how I feel about that car on the road and whether or not it could be a legitimate daily driver. And I just can't help but make the comparison. I think you guys might be surprised with my conclusions. There are a few categories that I take into consideration in determining whether or not the Q50 or the C6 Corvette is a better daily driver. One of those is comfortability. The other one is overall joy in driving the car. Fuel mileage, whether or not it makes sense. We should talk maybe a little bit about maintenance as well. And then I think styling and the appeal to everyone else that you run into on the road driving each one of those cars. So in no particular order, I'm gonna do a comparison through each of these categories and we'll see how each of the cars fare. How about that? So number one, I'm gonna talk about comfortability. The C6 Corvette has really nice leather seats, actual real leather, heated seats, many different adjustments that you can make, lumbar support, lateral support, raising it up, tilting it back, the whole 9 yards. Lots of adjustments to be made in that C6 Corvette seats. Sits nice and low, and the car feels pretty good. I mean, it feels like a sports car. So I'll leave it at that. Q50, fake leather seats, but they're really cushy. And there's plenty of adjustability there, although it's sort of a manual lumbar support. It's kind of weird, but there's some adjustability there. Comparing the two, this might surprise you. The Q50 is way more comfortable. A big complaint about the Corvette has always been that the seats are not as comfortable as they should be, or not as supportive as they should be. Being a true sports car, you would think there'd be a lot more support, but it always seems, especially if you're driving spiritedly in that car, it seems like you're fighting to stay in a controlled seated position. It's kind of unfortunate. And after several miles, I start to get a little bit of a sore back. Now, maybe it's because I got to play with the adjustments on that seat a little bit more, but the Q50, no problems driving that thing, 100 miles, 200 miles without stopping, no problem. That car is quite comfortable. And obviously we're comparing sort of a luxury sedan to a true sports car. But for the price of that C6, you would think that the seats would be more supportive. If they weren't more comfortable, you would think they'd be at least more supportive, and they're just not. So Q50 definitely gets the advantage in terms of overall comfort. Fuel mileage, you might be surprised, but the Q50, I'm able to get about 21-ish, maybe 22 miles per gallon if I'm driving like a normal person. The C6 Corvette, long gears, 6-speed manual transmission, you can cruise on the interstate 70, 75 miles an hour at like 1,800 RPM. So it's easy enough to get 28, 29, 30 miles per gallon in that thing. The problem is that it's got a spicy V8 and a 6-speed manual transmission, and you just can't help but put your foot into it. I mean, it feels pretty damn responsive to me. So although I'm able to get much better mileage than the Q50, just because that V8 roars, and I can't help but get my foot into the pedal around every corner, every straightaway, and every on-ramp, I'm getting about 19 miles per gallon, so just slightly less than the Q50. So you kind of got to give the C6 a point for being capable of getting better mileage. So it actually wouldn't be too bad of a daily driver if you're sort of doing a lot of highway driving. But the true advantage has to go to the Q50 because consistently it does get better mileage. Maintenance wise, I'm going to say as a daily driver, if you're really putting a bunch of miles on these cars, the Q50 gets the advantage there too. It's just a lot cheaper to maintain those cars. The Corvette, everything seems to be expensive. Brake pads are expensive. Brake rotors are really expensive if you get decent ones. Tires are really expensive. I mean, do you know what the price is on a decent set of rear tires for the C6 Corvette that are $325/30 19s? I mean, they're $300 a piece at a cheap dollar amount. If you want a decent tire, a decent Michelin or a decent Goodyear tire, we're talking $400. You know, it's pretty crazy. Now, what do people think about your car as you drive by them? Who gets the advantage? Who gets more attention, the Q50 or the C6? I think the Q50 gets a ton of attention because people aren't used to seeing a four-door sort of family sedan look like it looks. You know, the duckbill spoiler, the low stance, the nice wheels, and it sounds fantastic going down the road. So it grabs a lot of people's attention. They're surprised by what they're seeing. So I get a lot of thumbs up for that car. But the Corvette is a Corvette, and on top of that, it's a Grand Sport. So it's got the wide body, the big chrome wheels, and it sounds amazing. So a Corvette, and it's red. It's a flashy red car. So it just naturally people's attention is drawn to these vets out on the road. You know, I think the uniqueness sort of goes to the Q50, but the overall appeal and the overall ability to grab the attention of the people that you drive by on the interstate or going through town definitely goes to the Corvette. And the amount of attention, of course, we're all clout chasers and attention whores, right? So all that definitely plays into how fun the car is to drive overall, right? So this is a tough one to really dig into a little bit because I love driving the Q50. Sounds fantastic. Really comfortable.
If I knew.
It's pretty snappy still. Yo! Like I said, it sounds great. You can cruise just fine on the interstate, but you see the on-ramp or you're gonna get onto a straightaway and you can put it in manual mode, hit the paddle shifters and downshift and punch it. It's been, you know, from the factory, maybe not that fun, but the way this car is set up, it's just a blast to drive. But then we compare it to the C6, really torquey. Lots of power, 6-speed manual transmission. It has that V8 roar. It's just really hard to beat it, especially now with a good set of tires on it and it grips and goes. Oh my gosh, the thing is a blast. So Q50, a lot more versatile, I think, you know, a lot more versatile overall, I would say, just because it is a four-door sedan. You can get people in it. You can take a road trip in it and not be uncomfortable, but then you can enjoy it on the twisty roads as well. Whereas the C6 is sort of a purpose-built sports car, right? If you're dedicated, you can drive it every day. You can put a bunch of miles on it, but you got to have reasonable expectations. I would give the advantage to how fun is it to drive to the C6 just because of the additional power that it has and the fact that it is a nice, throaty, torquey V8. But what car overall makes the better daily driver? Hands down the Q50. Hands down the Q50. I really can't say anything more about it. It's more comfortable. It gets better mileage. It's less expensive to maintain overall, and it's a more versatile vehicle. The C6 is a blast, of course. You can drive it every day if you want to, but you got to make sure that you have reasonable expectations in terms of how comfortable it's going to be, how much it's going to cost you to maintain, and being a nice, throaty, torquey V8, you can't help but get into the throttle. So you're going to spend a little bit extra money on fuel as well. So overall, I think the winner is the Q50. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you think the Q50 or the C6 would be a better daily driver? I appreciate you guys' input, and I appreciate you following along. I got more stuff coming for the channel for all the vehicles involved, so I hope you guys will stick around. Thanks for watching. Happy holidays to everybody that celebrates, and I appreciate it. We'll see you in the next one.